I think we all know why we're here today. The Prime Minister made an announcement this afternoon that announced, obviously, that this saga that's been going on with our debt restructuring is over. And we are now moving forward. Brookfield are the new owners of the real estate for these properties here in the Bahamas. Kerzner International continues as the management team. We have everybody here to answer some questions, reiterate what the Prime Minister has already said in his statement, that there are three key factors to the government's approval of this deal. The first one was that there will be no loss of jobs as a result of the transaction. The second, that annual capital expenditures will continue to be in the same range as they've been over the past 4 or 5 years, which is about $50 million a year. And the third being that we would continue to market and advertise these properties as we've done in the past, or at least to the same intense level. And many of you know what we mean by that. We're on a lot on television, in the newspapers across North America and in South America. And those criteria were what the government was looking for before they would approve the deal. And the new owners have agreed to that with their other lenders. And we are delighted on the property because even though we are focused on our business, this has been a little bit of a distraction. And now we can totally focus on what our core responsibilities are, taking care of our customers. Minister.
Thanks, George. I don't know if there's very much to add. Very clearly, what was important to us is something that has been as seamless as it is. All of the people that we have become quite comfortable with because of their talent and ability in managing and operating this property is still here. All of the arrangements that we believe we had an understanding has now been codified with the new owners in terms of levels of staff, capital, investment, also marketing, which were obviously very important to us. So with business prospects looking pretty good, and the current management continuing in place, it gives us a great feeling in the Bahamas that we're going to continue to see a complete rebound of our business that we've all been looking forward to has already started, and with a team of people who have been affecting that. So all around, very good news for us, because obviously the one concern that everybody had was having new players coming in that we're not familiar with in terms of what their philosophy is. But we know the philosophy of the people who are here today, and we are delighted to have that remain in place for the future. Yeah.
So we're happy to take any questions that anyone might have.
Does the government have any plans to meet with officials from Brookfield Asset Management in the near future? Or have you been doing that?
Well, frankly, in the same way that we have spent a great deal of time dealing with the current management of Atlantis, that's who we will continue to talk to. Brookfield has already agreed to the key points, I think, that's already outlined in terms of staffing levels, capital investment, and marketing, which we've always talked to the ownership of this property about. So having done that, we will now continue all of the conversations that we want to have, is to have it directly with the operating managers of this resort.
I think it's great. I think these terms are fantastic that you guys were able to do. I guess the one thing that comes into play is it mentions with the management agreement for Kerzner, it says subject to meeting certain performance hurdles. There's no time frame involved in the government stipulations. So I guess my question would be, do we know how long this will last? Is it also subject to certain things such as the economy? And what assurances do we have that 10 years down the road these will be in place?
Well, I don't know that we have any assurances 10 years down the road. I think the management agreement calls for a specific period of time that's included in the press release, and those periods of time will be observed. Beyond that, I think you're crystal balling beyond that.
So Kerzner, it's linked with the Kerzner contract.
Correct.
I was going to ask actually, George. I mean, I know with the reference to meeting certain performance criteria. I was just wondering what those criteria were, and B, how confident you were that Kerzner will be able to meet them.
The criteria are very reasonable. They have been built around what our performance hurdles have been in the past. They're not something new or unusual. it would be silly to put criteria that have not been seen historically, at least here, because not only Kerzner, but anyone who might have followed Kerzner would be able to reach them. I mean, there's not going to be miracle workers. So I'm very comfortable, as my management team is, that we can achieve them. And that's day-to-day business. I mean, that is the business world. Obviously, we can't speak for a Lehman Brothers disaster or some other economic issue that may occur, but we're looking to the future now. We've been spending too much time, and I joke around a bit. This is an aircraft carrier, and it's been spending a lot of time in choppy seas. Now we're out in clear, calm water, and it's time to focus and get business rolling. And business is rolling, as you all know. It's good news. It's only good news so far for the first 4 months of the year.
Yep.
Why wasn't Mexico included in the deal, or was that just not mentioned in the press release? The one and only.
It wasn't mentioned in the press release because it's not complete. Remember, there are other authorities there separate to the Bahamian authorities, the Mexican
I didn't want
authorities
to comment on that.
that need to get involved. That's it.
No, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a.
I was going to also ask, Minister, one thing that hasn't been mentioned here from the government side or perspective, was any stamp tax paid on this transaction? Because I know the lenders were worried about the amount of stamp tax that was potentially involved, and I think they were seeking some kind of tax break incentive on that. So I was just wondering whether any has been paid or will be paid, and if so, how much?
I think if my memory serves me right, the answer is yes. Stamp tax has been paid, precisely on what it escapes me right now. But the answer is yes.
And are all approvals done now? Is there anything remaining to be done from the government end in terms of approving this transaction, or is it?
All of the substantial stuff is done.
One of the things that I think some people are going to be curious about, I think it's a natural question. Obviously, this hasn't gone as smoothly as some people would have hoped. There's been some legal problems with Brookfield and everything like that. Has that gone to the thinking at all of the Bahamian government? Are there any concerns regarding, we're now making a deal with them concerning the government. Has there been any concerns as to their track record up until now?
Not at all. I mean, as I said, I think at the very beginning with the first question, we are dealing with people who are operating a property we feel quite comfortable with. And those factors that we believe should have been imposed on the deal from the government's point of view, and to reiterate them, it's employment levels, capital investment, marketing, which are all very, very important to the success of this property. They've been agreed with the owners. So as far as we're concerned, we've touched all the things that are critically important to it, and then now we continue to deal with the operating staff.